Hello Physical Fiends, it's Jordan here with another Worth a Purchase where I play a game for a short amount of time to see if I would buy it myself. Today I'm taking a look at Eternights, which I was randomly given a code for. I didn't even request it, but I'm glad it was sent to me because I quite like this game so far. This has been available on PS4 and PS5 for over a year, both physically and digitally, but this week it is releasing on the Nintendo Switch, and that is what I'm taking a look at today, to see what it's all about. As always with Physical Paradise, I only look at games with physical releases, and this will have a physical release on Nintendo Switch this week. Purchase links are down below if you want to grab it and support me. But first, what is it? Eternights is a really fascinating game. It's the kind of game I like a lot because it reminds me of a bygone era where games felt like they were made by a proper team but kept within a reasonable budget and scope. It's kind of like an indie game that doesn't feel like an indie game. This is an interesting mix of an action game and a dating sim type thing, all wrapped up in a post-apocalyptic narrative. The world is seemingly ending when a giant wall appears around your city and most of the residents turn into zombie-like mutants or monsters. Actually, I don't think this game would be too out of place in the horror games video I made last week. It definitely has elements of horror in here. It's not like overtly scary, but it still has a great atmosphere and themes. You are a nameable hero who's trying to survive with your friend and recent acquaintances. You're more involved than just a mere survivor though, as your arm becomes a sword and you make a pact with an obviously dodgy girl on a boat. As you explore the city, you'll get into hack and slash fights with monsters. It's your typical modern action game here with timing dodges to get like the bullet time effect. I'm always crap at these specific timing things, and I'd prefer they weren't here at all with, the timed signposting. I'm just too impatient of a gamer. It's a serviceable battle system with little complexity from what I've played so far. You can get assistance from supporting characters, and you can take down extra strong enemy monsters by breaking down their defense barrier, which is the coolest thing that the game has to offer, I think. At least in terms of the combat. Between fights, you'll have the story segments and also downtime with your friends where, depending on the response you give to them, you can increase your social stats like courage and also your affinity with certain characters. This is where the dating aspect comes in. I haven't played far enough to experience any of that sort of thing, but it is one of the main aspects of the game. If you bond with characters enough, you'll experience more story options with them. Both gameplay aspects feel decently serviceable for the game, not outstanding or fully fleshed out, which may make it feel like mediocre to some people, but I think it's fine so far. I enjoyed the fact that it helped the story go along, which is what I'm liking. I like the characters. Okay, I haven't been like a big fan of all their developments so far, but on the whole, it's been a surprisingly funny game. Like, I've smiled and laughed a fair bit in just a couple of hours. I just wish the voice acting was less, well, I've complained about this before, but Valley Girl, all Californian voice actors, that makes it feel more like a Saturday morning cartoon. Like, they're good voice actors, but it's like, every game feels the same because they all sound the same. I just wish there was a bit more variety in the voice acting and the accents. Although, kind of contradicting myself a little bit, I wish the main character was actually voice acted. Like, there's literally no reason for him not to be. You only have a few choices per dialogue moments, and it just feels awkward that everyone else has voice acting except you. You just see your lips moving, like, silently. It is a minor point, but it's noticeable, and I don't see any excuse as to why the main character doesn't have voice acting. In terms of performance, it seemed like perfectly fine running on the Switch. It's a solid 30 frames per second. If there was any slowdown during like battle moments, I haven't noticed it. It is a downgrade from the PS4 and PS5 versions for sure. I believe they both run at 60 frames per second, but I didn't feel like a filthy pauper playing this at 30. It was fine. The big issue I have with it is the loading screens, the sheer amount of them. They're not like overly long, there's just so many of them that come between scenes that it is incredibly disruptive to the flow of the game. Like, you're supposed to have this really tense sort of chase scene, but when there's like loading scenes every few seconds, it sort of brings the pacing down. I haven't compared like the different versions, but I would assume this would be less prevalent on the PS5, and I think that might sway me over to that version rather than the Switch if I had the choice. Now, the physical release for this is new on the Nintendo Switch, but has also previously been available on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. If you want to purchase any version, please consider doing so with the links below in the description and pinned comment. That helps support me and the channel. VGP are linked below, and they have good prices and cheap Canadian money, plus free worldwide shipping if you purchase something over 80 Canadian bucks. That's about 60 American dollars, so not that much. Plus, at the time of writing this, aside from the Switch, they have the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 versions heavily discounted. Although I do want to point out that in Japan, on PlayStation 5, they got a special Deluxe edition, which came with a soundtrack CD and some cards. Play Asia still have some copies of that, which I can link down below too, and you can get 5% off Play Asia with the code Jordan24. And the Japanese version does play in English. Would I buy Eternights myself? Yeah, I would. I've been very intrigued by it so far. It's not perfect, I do have some small issues here and there, but I definitely want to play more. It also doesn't seem like a huge time sink, like maybe like 12 hours or something. There's an interesting story, decent characters so far, dialogue that's even funny on occasion. The gameplay seems simple enough to get through the story, and I look forward to continuing on if I ever get the time. Have you played Eternights before? If you have, please let me know your thoughts, or if you plan on picking up the Switch version. Seems like a decent option, all things considered, especially if you like portable play. As always, if you want to purchase it physically or any physical game, please consider using the links below. That massively helps support me, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.